Some battles in life don't start with fists or guns. They start with a single cut of a chain. That chain for me wasn't just metal. It was the lock on my peace, the boundary of my hard-earned freedom. But one night, that boundary was violated, and the person behind it was none other than my neighbor, Karen, the HOA president with a taste for control. I always believed peace was found in small places, quiet mornings on my porch, coffee steaming in my hands, the wind pushing gently through the oak trees that shaded my driveway. My ranch sat at the edge of our community, tucked away with a sturdy gate and a thick chain. I installed myself. That gate wasn't just metal. It was security, privacy, and a statement to the HOA that my land, my father's land before me, was mine to protect. But Karen had other plans. From the very first day, she made it clear she didn't like my gate. Karen, this isn't some farm road, John. This is a community. Gates and chains don't fit the image. This land has had a gate since before the HOA even existed. It stays, Karen. We'll see about that. I brushed her off. At 57, I'd dealt with my share of stubborn folks. But what I didn't know was that Karen's obsession with control would cross a line so deep, it would change everything. It started small. Notes slipped into my mailbox about violations, HOA letters stamped in bold red ink, even petty fines. I ignored them all. But one night, I heard the sharp clang of metal against metal. I rushed out with a flashlight. My heart pounded as the beam landed on the chain. Fresh scratches. Someone had tried to cut through it. I tightened the chain, reinforced the lock, and shook my head. Who would stoop this low? But deep down, I already knew the breaking point. It was my daughter, Emily, who caught Karen red-handed. She was 24. Visiting for the weekend, sitting out on the porch with her sketchbook when she saw movement by the gate. Emily, Dad. Someone's at the gate, Karen. I grabbed my phone and sprinted outside, and there she was. In the beam of my porch light, crouched low, bolt cutters in her hands, snapping at the chain like it was a toy. The sound still haunts me. Snap, snap, snap me, Karen. What on God's earth do you think you're doing? Karen, this gate violates HOA policy. I'm just enforcing the rules. Me, by breaking into my property? With bolt cutters? Karen, if the HOA rules say it comes down, it comes down. You don't get to decide. I felt my blood boil. Years of sweat, work, and memories tied into that land, and here she was, cutting it down like it meant nothing. I pulled out my phone, hands trembling with fury, and dialed 911. Karen laughed. She laughed as if it was some joke. Karen, go ahead, call them. The HOA backs me. They'll side with us. But she underestimated one thing, the law. When the deputy arrived, he didn't see an HOA president. He saw a trespasser holding bolt cutters. Caught in the act, Deputy Ma'am, put those cutters down. Now, Karen, do you know who I am? I'm the HOA president. This gate is illegal. Deputy, I don't care if you're the governor. You don't cut locks off private property. I'll never forget the look on her face when the deputy took her information and wrote the report. For the first time, Karen realized she wasn't untouchable. After the sheriff left, Emily and I stood by the battered chain. It was nearly cut through. Emily, Dad, what if you hadn't come out in time? She could have walked right in. Me, that's why we fight back. Some people think rules make them kings, but no one rules over what's ours. I thought it was over, that Karen would back down after being caught. But I was wrong. So very wrong. Because Karen wasn't just angry, she was humiliated. And humiliation, for someone like her, is dangerous. I thought the chain was just a piece of metal. But after that night, I realized it was more. It was the line between freedom and control, between right and wrong. And Karen, she wasn't finished. She was about to take this fight to a level I never expected, dragging us both into a courtroom where a judge would finally decide her fate. Some people dig their own graves, not with shovels, but with lies. Karen thought her HOA title was a shield, but in the courtroom, that shield shattered. And when the truth came out, it wasn't just about a chain anymore. It was about power, pride, and justice finally catching up to her. After that night, I thought Karen would keep her distance. But less than a week later, a thick envelope landed in my mailbox. A lawsuit. Karen and the HOA were suing me. Her claim? That my gate and chain were illegal obstructions and that she, as HOA president, had the right to remove them. I sat at the kitchen table. Papers spread out. My daughter Emily across from me. Emily, Dad, this is insane. She trespasses on your land and now she's dragging you to court? Me, that's how people like Karen work. They twist the story until they look like the victim, but I wasn't about to let her win. The day of the hearing, the courthouse was packed tighter than a church on Easter Sunday. Word spread fast in small towns, and everyone wanted to see the mighty HOA president face justice. Karen strutted in, heels clicking against the marble floor, her lawyer by her side. She wore a smug smile like armor, but I noticed the cracks, the twitch of her lip. The way her hands clenched her purse. I sat with my lawyer, an old friend named Robert who'd fought land disputes for decades. He leaned over and whispered, "Robert, don't worry. The law's on your side. Just tell the truth." Me, that's all I've ever had. When the judge called us forward, Karen's lawyer spoke first. His voice was smooth, rehearsed. "Lawyer, Your Honor, my client was merely enforcing HOA rules. The defendant's gate chain is not only against policy, but also creates a hazard for emergency. Mrs. Simmons acted in good faith to remove the obstruction." Karen nodded along, lips pressed tight in a self-satisfied smile. She looked like she already had the victory speech written in her head. Then the judge turned to me. "Judge, Mr. Carter, your response?" I stood, hands steady, though my heart pounded. "Me, Your Honor. That gate has been there for over 30 years, long before this HOA existed. It's not an obstruction. It's private property, and I have proof she didn't act in good faith. She trespassed. She cut the chain with bolt cutters, and she was caught in the act." At that moment, Emily rose from her seat, holding her phone. "Emily, Your Honor, I recorded part of it. You can hear her admit it." The courtroom buzzed as Robert played the audio. Karen's voice rang out. "If the HOA rules say it comes down, it comes down. You don't get to decide." The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Karen's face drained of color. The judge leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Judge Mrs. Simmons, you entered this man's property with bolt cutters and attempted to destroy his gate." "Karen, I was just following HOA protocol, Judge. Protocol does not give you the right to break into private property. This is criminal trespass and destruction of property." Karen's lawyer tried to salvage the moment, but the damage was done. The recording, the deputy's report, and the nearly severed chain all painted one picture. Karen was guilty. For the first time, Karen's confidence shattered. She turned red, then pale, then desperate. "Karen, Your Honor, please, you don't understand. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I just wanted the community to look good. If we let one person defy the rules, everyone will." Her voice cracked. For a brief moment, I saw the human behind the arrogance, someone desperate for control, because without it, she felt powerless. But the judge wasn't swayed. "Judge, what you did wasn't about rules. It was about control. And control without respect becomes tyranny." The gavel came down with a sharp crack. Karen was ordered to pay fines, cover my legal fees, and most shocking of all, she was sentenced to 30 days in county jail for criminal trespass. The courtroom erupted. Some gasped, some whispered, and for the first time in years I saw my neighbors look at Karen not with fear, but with relief. She was no longer untouchable. As deputies escorted her out, she turned back, eyes blazing with something between hatred and regret. "Karen, this isn't over. Me, it should have never started." Emily squeezed my hand. Her eyes glistened with tears, not of sadness, but of pride. "Emily, you stood your ground. Grandpa would have been proud." Her words pierced deeper than anything Karen ever said. I felt my father's presence in that moment, his lessons about protecting what's yours. about fighting when the fight matters. That day, justice wasn't just served. It was a reminder that truth, no matter how small, can topple even the biggest walls of arrogance. But Karen's story didn't end in that courtroom. Because behind bars, her pride would crack, and the regret that followed would change everything. Some stories end with punishment. But the real ending, the one that lingers in your chest, comes when someone finally sees the damage they've caused. For Karen, it took a jail cell to break her pride. And for me, it took her tears to remind me that even enemies carry wounds we cannot see. After the trial, life quieted down. The gate stood strong, the chain freshly replaced, gleaming like a badge of victory. Neighbors who once avoided me started waving from their porches. Some even stopped by to say, "Good for you, John." Someone needed to stand up to her. But in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake the image of Karen being led away. Her shoulders hunched, pride stripped bare. For weeks, I carried both relief and unease. Yes, she deserved consequences. But deep down, I wondered what 30 days in jail would do to a woman who'd built her whole life on control. 2 weeks into her sentence, I found a letter in my mailbox. The handwriting was shaky, the envelope plain. It was from Karen. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, the words were raw, stripped of her usual sharpness. "John, I never thought I'd say this, but I was wrong. I've spent these nights in a cell replaying everything. The truth is, it wasn't about the gate. It was about me. I lost my husband 2 years ago, and since then, controlling the HOA was the only way I felt in charge of something. Cutting that chain wasn't about rules, it was about trying to control the one thing I couldn't. I see now that I crossed a line I never should have. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to tell you. I'm sorry." I sat there, staring at the words. My anger softened, replaced by something heavier - understanding. Emily urged me to let it go, but my heart wouldn't rest. So one afternoon, I drove to the county jail and asked to see her. When she walked into the visitor's room, she was unrecognizable. The proud, sharp HOA president was gone. Her hair was tied back, her posture slumped. Her eyes, once burning with arrogance, were red and tired. We sat down across from each other. "Karen, I didn't think you'd come." "Me, I read your letter. I needed to see for myself if it was real." "Karen, it is. I was so blinded by control. I forgot what respect even meant. I hurt you, your daughter, and this whole community. And now I'm paying the price." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Just silence, heavy but healing. Finally, I leaned forward. "Karen, you can't undo what you did, but you can decide what comes next. Use this time. Change the way people remember you. Not as the woman who cut chains, but as the woman who broke her own." She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. Not the angry, dramatic kind of crying, but the broken, fragile kind. And for the first time, I didn't see her as HOA Karen. I saw her as a widow, a woman who'd lost her way, drowning in grief she never faced. 30 days later, Karen walked out of county jail. No crowd, no smug smile. Just her, a small duffel bag, and a quiet dignity she'd never shown before. I stood by my truck waiting. She froze when she saw me. "Karen, you didn't have to come." Maybe I did." We talked for an hour in the parking lot. She didn't make excuses. She didn't defend herself. She just listened. And sometimes listening is the hardest part. In the months that followed, Karen stepped down as HOA president. She started gardening, volunteering at the library, and much to everyone's surprise, showed up at community gatherings not to control, but to help. One evening, she knocked on my door. Emily answered, her guard still up, but Karen held out a small box. Inside was a brand new chain, polished and strong. Karen, a replacement for the one I tried to break. This time, as a gesture of respect, Emily's eyes watered, and for once, so did mine. Looking back now, I realized that chain was never just about keeping people out. It became a symbol of boundaries we all need, whether physical or emotional. Karen tried to cut mine, but in the end, she cut through her own pride instead. And maybe that's what set her free. So if you've ever faced someone like Karen, someone who tried to break your peace, remember this. Standing your ground matters. But sometimes, behind the worst actions, lies a broken heart in need of healing. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it can write a better ending. Now I want to ask you, have you ever had a neighbor, an HOA, or someone in power cross a line in your life? How did you handle it? Share your stories in the comments. I'd love to read them.